Yeah, thank you very much for the short introduction, and thank you very much that we can give a short brief about our companies today and talk a little about the hydrogen sector and the mobility market. For those who don't know Apex, we are a small mid-sized company from northern part of Germany that is more than 12 years ultimately dedicated to the hydrogen sector. And we have three business pillars at the moment. The first pillar is the EPC and EPCM business, where we acting as an EPC partner for third parties. The biggest proof we are working on at the moment is we are building up a 10 megawatt hydrogen plant for EWE at the ArcelorMittal site in Bremen. The second business pillar we have is the own and operate business, where we're building up our own hydrogen production capacity up to 1 gigawatt by 2030. And we're establishing at the moment 3 big projects in Mecklenburg-Pomerania. And the third business pillar is the hydrogen storage, where we originally come from. We are producing at the moment different products. The biggest scaling up is the Type 4 hydrogen tank, a pressure tank that we producing at our site in Rostock. We are very proud that we one of the few companies in the hydrogen sector, they are getting things done. We are not only talking, we're acting at the moment. So we invested the last 6 years more than 50 million euros on our own risk without any subsidies on our site in Rostock-Lage. What you can see, that's almost all real, just the IPCL project on the upper side of the slide is just a visualization. Here you can see our 2 megawatt plant. It's a fully integrated hydrogen infrastructure with a directly connection to our PV park and to the grid as well, with a 2 megawatt alkaline electrolyzer on hydrogen running CHP for green electricity and green heat, and a stationary fuel cell. But the most important application is the fully integrated refueling station we have established many years ago together with our partner Resato, where we can refuel cars, buses, trucks, and we can fill trailers as well, to distribute the local produced green hydrogen to our customers where the hydrogen is needed. Today we are talking about hydrogen sector in the mobility market. What we are chasing for, I think every company in the hydrogen sector is chasing for the holy grail, to make a hydrogen project bankable. What we see at the moment, just to point it out, we mostly focusing on industrial applications like steel, chemistry, concrete or glass or paper production. But to set ground in the market and to ramp it up, we need the hydrogen sector to bring hydrogen into the mobility market at the moment. We can proudly present that we closed the contract together with a local bus company, a local public transportation bus company, that we secured 8 years offtake agreement for delivering of green hydrogen, and that makes maybe a project bankable, and this will be the starting point to ramp up the hydrogen business. For this project, we are building up a 10 megawatt electrolyzer and the whole infrastructure together with Resato to cater the local bus company in the future with 1,100 kilograms of green hydrogen, local produced green hydrogen, and facilitate their refueling stations in the future. And to transition to our partner, Rob Castien, I want to introduce the godfather of hydrogen mobility in Central Europe.
That's too much for me, Peter, but thank you very much, and thank you very much for being able to present here. So I will talk a little bit about our company. We're an SME company from the Netherlands, and what we do is we build hydrogen refueling stations, period. The company is for over 30 years in existence. We're originally a high-pressure company, but we split off our hydrogen business and focusing on Europe, focusing on building hydrogen refueling stations. And we do that out of the Netherlands, and we are doers. So what you see on the map is the stations we are either have commissioned or are about to commission. The picture is of a station in Neumünster, a little bit north of Hamburg, 2,000 kilos per day station, AFIR compliant, which we will talk about as well. And the company is growing. It's real. Today, we are building stations Last year in January, we were 54 people. Today, we are 125. End of the year, we will be 190 people. The production numbers for this year is we're basically sold out. We have a few slots that we can squeeze in. So it's really happening today. Our car fleet is zero emission. I drove my Mirai here without any problems. We have 7 hydrogen cars. The rest is battery electric. Our building is zero emission. And 98% of our supply chain comes from Europe. We are for Europe. Let's do it together and let's make it happen. So the question is the future of hydrogen the mobility sector? That is actually the name of our presentation. And if you look at it, hydrogen is an ecosystem. Hydrogen is not just about mobility, it's about everything. So yes, there is a spot for hydrogen mobility, but it goes together with everything else, the electrolyzers, the infrastructure, the steel, all the things that we are talking about in the last 2 days. Another question could be, is there a future for hydrogen mobility? As some people are very skeptical maybe about that. But if you look at Europe, we have the A4, the Alternative Fuel Infrastructure Regulation that has been announced last year and getting more and more concrete. There shall be 400 stations plus across the 10T corridors in Europe. The plans need to be in place at 2027. The 400 stations must be operational by 2030. So Europe believes absolutely in hydrogen for mobility along the 10T corridors, so mainly focused on transport. And there you go, heavy-duty vehicles, buses and trucks. The vehicles are available. It's not that they don't exist. We need to scale up. Now, some of you you can see the buses, the municipality trucks, the street sweepers. And this was actually Ferrari showing up at one of our hydrogen refueling stations. He didn't refuel the car, but just to keep you on your toes. And hopefully hydrogen combustion engines will also make Ferrari get hot about vehicles on hydrogen. All right. So can we handle the trucks? Can we handle them electrically? And I did a quick analysis. There's 146,000 trucks in the Netherlands. And let's say they all get a 1 megawatt hour electric battery in there. And let's say there's a 1 megawatt pole charging the trucks. They'll be charging for, let's say, an hour and a half. And you can do 8 trucks per day on a charging pole of 1 megawatt. Then the total charging power required to electrify the trucks in the Netherlands is 18.25 gigawatts. The combined power plants in the Netherlands have 19 gigawatts. So we need all the power plants in the Netherlands to charge the trucks. System overload. So it's not going to work, only electric. So let's look at the supply chain that we have today. Fossil fuels, refineries, dirty trucks, dirty stations, dirty cars. But it's been there for over 100 years and it works great. Then we look at electric. I also have a Tesla that I've been driving for 10 years, 300,000 kilometers, no maintenance. Electric power, dirty plants. And it gets cleaner and cleaner as I charge the cars. Great. But nobody wonders when I'm driving my Tesla, is there clean green energy going in there? Could be. But nobody knows for sure. And now we switch to hydrogen. And suddenly, when we look at the hydrogen chain, everything needs to be green hydrogen, otherwise we cannot drive a hydrogen truck or bus or car. So we accept fossil fuels, we accept power plants being with dirty electricity in all the mobility, but once we change to hydrogen, suddenly everything needs to be perfectly green. It's new technology, So the question I put out to you, is it realistic to expect the business case to be competitive, or should we have policymakers force the change? Because the game is not between battery and hydrogen, the game is between battery and hydrogen against fossil fuel. Because at the end of the day, do we want to save the planet? Yes or no? And there's no free ride.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen, first of all, for the presentations. Many questions have come in. Let's jump right into it. So, is the future the mobility sector? I mean, this is a very broad question, basically from both ends. And let's maybe try to differentiate a bit. So, maybe first question to Peter. Do you think that the entire mobility sector is a target market for hydrogen? Or do you see specific segments to only focus on, or at least to start with and prioritize?
At one time, it could be the entire sector, but in the meantime, I think we have to separate into heavy-duty mobility, long-distance mobility, and the individual mobility. I think we cannot afford to waste this little amount of green hydrogen we have to fuel it in cars. You know, because we need the hydrogen to decarbonize other industries, especially the green hydrogen. So we have a fleet of hydrogen cars, for sure, but it's just a marketing purpose.
Yes. Would you agree, Rob? There's also a question by Richard. Is it a kind of a waste, a distraction, if we go for H2 road cars rather than H2 trucks in the mobility sector?
Well, my easy rule of thumb is that gasoline will become electric and diesel will become hydrogen. And if you take that rule of thumb, it makes total sense to start with heavy-duty vehicles. I was in Finland last week, and a battery electric car with 700 kilometers, Mercedes, right? When it was minus 25 there, the taxi driver said, I only have 350 left. But for them, it makes total sense to use hydrogen to clean up their transport routes, which are long and cold. So trucks and buses first.
Yes, but also, as I understand, cars. And Richard still critical of the overall idea to use hydrogen in the mobility sectors with road vehicles, because it will make a larger difference in CO2 reduction in heavy industries, like in aircraft and shipping or so. Are they not a better target than vehicles?
Well, then the question is how much of the emissions in Europe are based on mobility? It's over 25%. So if that's a piece of the pie that you want to ignore, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. I think you need to do both. It's not one or the other for me, but the mobility is a big emission market sector.
Peter, have you?
I just want to add on that the shipping and the aircraft sector is a target market as well, but a derivative out of hydrogen. Green hydrogen will be the feedstock for syn fuels in the future. So.
Okay, so we say we can do both and should move on basically to reach scale also in other areas. How could a hydrogen filling station for flexible use look like? For example, for construction machinery on temporary construction sites. Is that a good idea, Rob?
Construction equipment, mobile refueling stations in the field is very difficult. Because it's very difficult to bring high capacity, because these big machines use a lot of hydrogen and a lot of energy. It's very difficult to bring that with permitting into the field in a flexible way, in a safe way. It's not so easy, because if you look at a refueling station today, a diesel, you just basically have a tank, a pump, and off you go. But with hydrogen refueling station, you can look at our booth, we have the dispenser, and that's the interface for the user. But there's like a small gas processing plant behind it to fill the vehicle. And it's very difficult to bring in a mobile fashion to the field to have the speed that you want for refueling. So it's going to be a challenge. There's demand for it, for sure. but it's not so easy.
Okay, so that would not be the focus area in the
Not for
in
us.
the beginning, but maybe let's say to build and grow the infrastructure with the refueling stations where you have presented many that you already have. How would you kind of see the time frame now for really enlarging the whole system to let's say to convert the transport infrastructure to hydrogen, basically? Do you both dare to give a forecast?
Depends on, yeah.
Well, if you want to have a forecast, the AFIR says by 2030 there shall be every 200 kilometers along the 10T corridors there will be a refueling station. I think everybody's waiting for the vehicles. The buses are available. The buses, I think, are the first logical way to go. We're doing a great project together with Apex on the Rebus project, 52 buses, 2 stations. And you can just basically order the buses. The trucks, everybody's waiting for it. We know a lot of companies are working on it, but we need to standardize on the filling protocol, 350, 700 liquid. The cheapest way is 350, by the way. But we need to have the standards, and then the trucks will come out. So we expect trucks to come out really 2026, and then we will see how the offtake will be.
Okay, Peter, what's your projection for the build-up of the infrastructure? Which factors drive that transformation?
Yeah, I can agree the perspective of Rob, but what we see is the buses are available right now. There's a strong movement, and the government give obligations that you have to replace your diesel buses with new buses with alternative powertrains and something like this. So we feel the movement right now, yeah.
Okay, then take another question from the audience. What about the explosive potential of hydrogen? Can you park a lorry fleet in a closed garage?
That depends on local regulations, I would say. You certainly can. I think if you look at when we think about H2, a lot of the public will think, oh, the hydrogen bomb and the Hindenburg, right? That's the first thing. If you look on the internet, you can see that it's quite safe for hydrogen, and it's not more dangerous than LPG, CNG, or other things. Even gasoline can be explosive and is very flammable. So yes, it's flammable. Yes, it can explode. Yes, you need to take safety precautions, but then it's not any different than the other fuels I mentioned.
Yeah. And if you get an approval in Germany, they will not explode anymore. I can promise you.
Okay, so then we can feel safe. Rob, you gave that example, those numbers, your calculation with the 19 gigawatt electricity capacity that would be needed for battery driven vehicles. If that isn't feasible, isn't there much more electricity capacity necessary to produce green hydrogen?
Yes, yes, and I think it's not about the amount of electricity, it's about location. Where is the energy available? In essence, the energy is unlimitedly available from wind and solar power to serve the world. But if I look at Germany, you look at the north part of Germany where there's a lot of wind energy. But how about the south? How do I get it to Bayern? It's tough. How do I store it? It's tough. So that's why we need molecules to transport it. Get it from maybe from Namibia with the wind parks over there, or from the Middle East to get the green hydrogen. So it's not about the amount of electricity, but do you have it available at a reasonable cost and an infrastructure that is able to do it at the right place?
Okay, good. Final question. If we look at the mobility sector from a hydrogen perspective, what are your wishes to other stakeholders, for example, politicians, to speed up basically the scaling up of the whole system? Peter, maybe you'd like to start.
Yeah, the most important thing is a very easy, pragmatic regulatory framework, and the mindset of partnering up, collaboration, not competition. The challenge is for every one of us big enough, so we only can do it together and ramping up together.
Final wish by Rob.
Okay, I'm going to put a question out to the audience. Let's assume we ask Shell and Exxon to drive the energy transition. They are the motors behind the energy transition. You think they're going to be in a hurry to change from oil to new energies? The answer is no. They don't give a shit, right? So we need policy to drive the change. No pain, no change. So we need policy in place, take money from the bad guys, give it to the good guys. That's basically the name of the game of policy.
Yeah.
And that is what the politicians need to do. Because the industry, the oil industry by itself is not self-motivated to change.
Thank you for that strong statement in the end, Rob. So that's food for thought. And food for discussion over lunch. We have a lunch break now and networking in the exhibition. Have fun and see you later then here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.